Well, a very good morning to you watching. Yes, today is the 10th of May, 2024, and this has been a long-awaited day. And I guess most of you must be home and catching the good breeze of holiday. My name is Masi Katsime, and welcome to Smart Minutes Business, our daily morning show from Monday to Friday. Regardless, we do not care. We always get you informed. We're always here to get you informed. Well, yesterday was a census night, and they said where you want to be counted is where you're going to spend the night. So, ladies and gentlemen, where do you spend the night? Yesterday evening or night? Well, we're going to be, of course, today looking at the census, looking at the statistics, how we've grown as a population over time. And trust me, this time, we could have increased much largely compared to other years. Well, for some people, it's going to be their first time to be counted. For some, it's going to be maybe the third or the fourth, depending on how many centuries you've lived here in Uganda. Yes, today is the census. Today marks yesterday night marked the beginning, but today officially is when people are going to set pace. Yeah, and of course there are controversies regarding those that are going to carry out the enumerators. There's scandals everywhere, but I hope that was settled. Yeah, and for now you're employed. Yeah, you're civil servants for now. Let's say that. Well, of course, Uganda's population. Well, I must say, beginning with, Uganda has spent over 350 billion in this census this very year. And allocations have been given to the enumerators and their supervisors. Yeah, and of course there are 10,000 here that are going to participate in this enumeration process. And of course, looking at the different years in which we started the census, around 1969, we're around. Yes, this is the time some of our parents were not. Well, in existence actually. We're around 9 million plus, 9 million and 9.5 million people, then 1969. So we're quite a few population. And of course, looking at after that, 1980, we're around 12 million. And of course, 1991, we're around 16 million. Then 2002, I guess most of you were already born then. You were now counted, including myself right here. And of course, that was, we're around 24 plus million, 24.2 million. Then in 2014, where we're all partisan, we're around 34.85 million, and of course that was approximated to 46 as of now. That is that is what they expect. But of course they're going to carry out 34. But of course within the period of those years, the numbers could have increased, which led it to maybe 46 over the years. Actually from 2014. But to be specific, 2014 were 856,813 million people in Uganda. So that is how we've been progressing from 1969 till date. And of course the last census was last carried out in 2014. Yes, most of you, some were in high school, some were in university. Yeah, at least you have a recall of that. Yeah, and of course this year's it's going to be electric. Yeah, you don't need your national ID. You will not need your national ID. All you need is to have your information right. Whether you are a polygamous man, you'll be counted where you spent the night. So we were not ruling out those that were in lodges, schools, barracks, bars. They're going to be counted, and of course those that traveled in the night, I guess they started off yesterday in the night counting them. Yeah, so definitely you do not need whatsoever national ID. All you advised to remain at home so the enumerators reach you and they ask you the questions that you said. There are going to be just few questions. Where you are, where you're located, access services, you get your services from. So just small questions. The exaggeration of 180 questions was too much, and failure to do so, by the way, failure to participate in the census, you will be imprisoned. That's what I hear. For 6 months. So please comply. It's for the benefit of our own people. And of course, some people travel to the villages, yeah, for very many reasons. And you know, the more people that are in an area, the more, if they're allocating money, the more money they allocate. Yeah, I guess the planned kids are still in around Kampala. Well, so now, of course, according to UPOS, hotels and lodges will also receive institutional questionnaires, just like schools and hospitals, to record the number of people who will have spent the census night in their premises. Yeah. So get ready if they reach out to you, because it's going to be electronical. So people are going to be having iPads, noting down information, yeah, feeding in data, so that we do not count people more than once, yeah. So that is the whole issue of all that. So get yourself ready to be counted, and we're going to see how we're going to be able to plan for our country, Uganda, once all this is done. That is the importance of census, so that we can plan economically on how we're going to make sure that we have a productive country. Yeah, if at all they find the youth are the ones that populate the highest number, and they'll find means of making sure that at the end of the day, if there is unemployment, what is the way forward to make sure that everyone is engaged in one thing or the other for the goodness and the benefit of our country, Uganda. So you could go do business as usual, yeah. Believe there are some workplaces that are open, just like we are. So please don't hesitate. If they are required to be at work, go. But they will find you at work. But today, to make things simpler and much easier, that is what it should have been. You know, for people to be at home, and there is order for the numerators to reach out to them. Now, of course, for the category of people who may not have a permanent place of abode, street children and fishermen, counting will take place at night, census night, yesterday in the evening. So the street kids are going to be counted as well. They're among the population. Yeah, we also have to find means of how to reduce them. If there are homes, we take them to different street homes so that they can be catered for. Yeah, being homeless doesn't look. Of course, every country has homeless people, but now the numbers also differ. Well, that is it for our morning call. Census, yes, census facts. 350 billion spent on this census. And of course, those that were able to comply, those who are able to have an employment, kudos for you. You're going to be working up with the whole some money. I'm seeing it right here, and your supervisors are going to be getting. So they procured over 120,000 tablets that are going to be used, the first country digital census. That is what they call it, the digital census. They're going to have your data input in those tablets, and it's going to be easier instead of paperwork. Papers can get lost, actually. Books, someone can replace, but this, it is actually quite rare for it to happen. Well, that is it for our morning call. I guess we're going to see what is happening into the press. Well, of course, looking into the press, Uganda launches community HIV test kits. And of course, looking at Uganda Airlines get new aircraft Yeah, that also, and of course, looking at Uganda census, assist enumerators access your homes. That is according to the Minister of ICT, that is Honorable Chris Badiomunsi. Yeah. So the whole issue here is of course census. In most of the papers, census is the talk of the day. And of course, new cities lack sustainability plan for US mid infrastructure. Of course, the Uganda support for municipal infrastructure development, US mid program has been running since September 2013 with funding from the World Bank. And of course, looking at it was supposed to end in 2018. By the way, these projects in some of the districts, I have, even the district I come from, there's been issues actually regarding the enforcement of work, you know. Some works, the people that have been contracted have not been, you know, working up to standard. You know, some complaints about payment, you know, contractors not being paid, and so therefore work not being commenced. So something that was supposed to end 2018 is still lagging, and we're still around there, and still around there. So it's quite worrying actually for us as a country. Now, of course, Uganda Airlines requires a temporary Airbus to boost to boost air operations. Of course, the Uganda Airlines has signed a short-term lease agreement with Global Airlines based in Johannesburg, South Africa, for mid-range aircraft. Now, of course, according to a statement released by the national carrier yesterday, the acquisition of the extra A320 aircraft is majorly to enhance its operational efficiency, and as some of its aircraft proceed on scheduled maintenance. So this is going to be a short time as we are servicing our planes. Now, of course, according to the airline, the additional aircraft will address capacity limitations on routes like Johannesburg, Kinshasa, Nairobi, and Lagos. Of course, Uganda Airlines emphasizes their commitment to maintaining schedule integrity and a delight customer experience. Now, Executive Director, the CEO of the national carrier, that is Miss Jennifer Bamturachi. She was once a talk of the town. And of course, say there have been significant growth in demand in the number of routes, and therefore they have introduced certain pressures. There were certain pressures that were introduced on them, so that is why they had to, release out this plane to avoid all inconveniences. Now, of course, this 160-seater aircraft features a 2-class cabin with 12 business class seats and 138 economy seats regular, to be precise, along with increased baggage and cargo capacities. Now, the list A320 will operate for a period of 6 months. Yeah, 6 months, because there is demand as people go to different destinations all over Uganda. So definitely that is good. Eventually, you never know, we could actually pick interest and eventually buy. And of course, businessman remanded for allegedly forging documents to obtain loans. And of course, Masaka factions clash as NUP updates voters register. And of course, Uganda considers Iranian stake for social media content filtering. This is according to the Minister of ICT, Honorable Dr. Chris Badiomunsi. And of course, according to Dr. Badiomunsi, the goal is not to shut down social media, but promote responsible content. Yes, the content you put out there, it is what is it called? You know, some people, we tarnish the image of our country by the things that the content we put out there. We understand there is freedom of speech, but you're misusing that, I should say. If you've been keen enough, the content, everyone speaks out their mind. It's not about comedy now, it's about emotions and who knows what is true. And, you know, anyone can come up with anything, whether it's true, whether it's a lie. It's out there in the public. Everyone gets to know our business, how we're performing as Uganda, you know. And of course, the Ghana government is exploring technology from Iran to regulate and filter content on social media platforms. Yeah, and of course, according to the ICT minister, Dr. Chris Badiomunsi, the goal is not to shut down social media, but to regulate the content that is being put out. Now, the minister also expressed concerns about the negative impact of unfiltered social media content, particularly on children. Okay. On children, of course, he also highlighted the issues like fake news and also abusive language on social media. Yes, there was a culprit actually, one of the TikTokers that we have in our country, Uganda. He was actually faced charges and he was released, but I think by the time he was in prison, he really faced something. And tell you what, it is not nice. It's not nice. So make proper use of what you put. You make proper use of social media. If you're marketing your products, do market them. Don't go for cheap pity talks. It doesn't look good for our country. Let us speak sense so that people attract people to you. Come to your country, to potholes, then you post. No. Yeah, and of course, here in the new vision, additional 27,000 learners to benefit from USE, universal secondary education. And of course, Ghana takes more private schools. And of course, looking at our newly released aircraft right here. And of course, looking at the census. Yeah. Well, here census start reveals hope amid glitches. And of course, UBOS chairman, that is Albert Gamcha, says the government is finding 98% of the 333 billion census budget. Only individuals who spent last night in Uganda will be counted in the 10-day exercise, whether refugees or other foreign nationals. Yeah. All right, I'm seeing here a picture of numerators with their tablets. Yes, I don't know if they're going to keep with them or, well, benefits. Now, of course, government targets, yeah, like I'd said, HIV. Either a lot is happening in Uganda away from this, yeah. And of course, women will access loans at an interest rate up to 10%, where women to access cheap loans next month. Yes, quite interesting actually. Yeah, women are one of the most vulnerable people that we have. Yeah, and of course, according to the project officials, the gender ministry, which is the lead implementing agency, is concluding the selection of financial institutions through which women will access credit facility. Now, the GROW project. Yeah, the GROW project is a 5-year project financed by the National Development Agency, IDA, the World Bank, under the grant financing agreement of $217 million, which is approximately 827.8 billion Ugandan shillings. So this is going to actually majorly facilitate to women. This program GROW. I know about GROW, so it's majorly on women, women empowerment, you know, things like that. Well, of course, President Museveni, Nigerian scholar, discussed on human capital development. And of course, Annie Mbogu is a distinguished scholar and advocate for leadership transformation. Well, the president was in discussion with Professor Vincent Chinedu, a renowned human capital development expert, on Wednesday in Entebbe. And of course, they explored various projects and potential investment opportunities in Uganda, particularly focusing on youth skilling programs, on agriculture, based on 1 and 4 acre models. Okay, this is good. The youth. Just know the president has you on his mind every day. So you're in his lips, he think about you. And of course, is Uganda making progress? Assessing the SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals. Of course, Kampala has more than 60% of its population living in slum. Oh my goodness, 60%. 60%. That is a frustrating number, 60%. This is because affordable housing is not available and most of the population ends up sprawling in slums. Well, affordable housing, as you say, it's not affordable for people in those areas. It's not quite affordable for these people in those areas. So if I am earning 150,000, what kind of affordable house do you think I can get? I'll get probably in a room there in some slum, and it's maybe around 30,000, 40,000 a month. So it's not good. 60%. This is a quite devastating number. 60%. That leaves the 40% people with decent work jobs. Now, the revised gross domestic GDP estimates for 2020 to 2021 indicate that the economy grew by 3.4% in 2022 from 3% in 2020. Now, looking at agriculture, forestry, fishing sector activities grew by 3.8% in 2020 to 2021, which is 1% lower than the previous year's growth. So our productivity has been compromised. Uganda's unemployment challenges, and of course, looking at working population in 2017 was at 15 million. I believe now, with a total employment estimated at 9.1 million. Wow, oh my goodness. That means there is need for most people living in Kampala to actually. The fact that someone is actually living in the city center or Kampala doesn't mean that they are well off. People are struggling, people are making ends meet. These are people that we meet. They are hawkers, they are selling goods, small tomatoes, and at the end of the day, they're not getting out of it. So I feel like people should actually, I realize in agriculture, if I was to advise someone who is in this kind of situation, go back to your home, invest in agriculture. The money that you have been using, go and invest in agriculture, because in years to come, it's going to do coffee. Coffee now is a booming business. Yeah, people are getting money out of it. A kilo that was at 6,000 is now at 12,500. You see? So, yeah. So that is it. More than 60%. And of course, looking at poverty, rural areas, 55% people living in poverty. Oh, goodness. Yeah, so the disparity is quite huge between the rich and the poor. Very, very huge. Very, very huge, actually. And of course, the richest 10% receive 35.7% of the national income. Then the poor, 10% receive 2.5%. Uganda, we are really dwindling when it comes to poverty eradication. Now, of course, government directs LCs as census stats. Yes, as I told you, looking at tier statistics, so now we've been performing. Yeah, and of course, women lawyers want surrogacy agreements translated. Yeah, those that are into surrogacy. Yeah. And of course, public procurement sidelines women-owned businesses. Yes. And of course, while the involvement of women-owned businesses in public procurement is essential in promoting gender equality and fostering inclusive economic growth, only a small fraction of such businesses currently participate. Yeah, only a fraction of 38.2% of women-led businesses are registered in the government supplier database, with less than 1% actively participating in public procurement. So there is need for women to actually do participate, because now there is gender equality. So, well, a lot is happening into the country. And of course, ex-engineer explains a source of wealth of 6.2 billion, a fraud case. Well, isn't Uganda beautiful? Uganda is a beautiful thing, actually. Yeah, and of course, glitches, UBOS flags off the enumerators. The outgoing top Kenyan diplomat basks in trade diplomacy glory. And of course, looking at Uganda-Tanzania trade deficit reduces by 22 billion shillings. Now, the Uganda and Tanzania reduced their trade deficit last year by about $6 million, which is approximately 22.2 billion, with the exports closing at an estimate of $186 million, approximately 703 billion, from $135 million, approximately to 510, and imports at $192 million. Wow, this is good. This is good. Now, the value of exports between Uganda and so yeah, we are really performing well. I like this report when it comes to trade and no more trade deficit. So there's a balance. There is a balance between trade in both countries. Exports, imports, well balanced properly. Now, of course, Tilenga oil project, court rejects plea to stop eviction of people. And of course, government makes U-turns on closure of universities over census. And of course, African auditors seek autonomy. Yeah, and of course, acquisition of our leased aircraft, which is going to be operational for 6 months. Yeah, so that and more if you get a copy of these papers right here. Well, of course, that brings us to the end of what is happening in Uganda. So grab yourself and get entertained. There is a lot of interesting stories, a lot of information right here. Well, I'm going in for a short commercial break, but shortly I'll be back with what is happening in East Africa and, of course, across the borders. Do stick around. We shall be right back.